to deal with the importance of the inscriptions as a source to reconstruct the history. Although inscription is very small in comparison to that of chronicles of the time, the contemporary chronicles of the period, but it is very important and valuable and authentic. So, of all the data provided by archaeology, inscriptions on metal or coins, stone and other substance have been considered as most trustworthy and precise evidence to reconstruct factual history. In India, engraving of inscriptions have been initiated by Mauryan ruler Ashoka in 3rd century BC. These inscriptions are mostly written in Brahmi and Khroshti scripts, although we find two other scripts, that is the Aramaic and Greek, but most of the inscriptions of the Gangetic Valley or in the northern belt are written in Khroshti and Brahmi script. In Sanskrit, first inscription was engraved by Shaka ruler of Saurashtra, Rudradaman, in 150. It was the first inscription. It was engraved on the same boulders in which Ashoka earlier inscribed the inscription. Arabic records have been found in Sindh from the 8th century, but mostly epitaphs. The Ghaznavites, Ghurids and early Turkish Sultan left epigraphs mostly in Arabic, with an exception of two, like that of, we find one Persian inscription to the time of Sultan Mahmud at Vain in Persian and in digging of the well, regarding the digging of the well. Towards the close of the 13th century, Persian as a state language was widely used in epigraphs, and from onwards we find the inscriptions in two language, either in Arabic or in Persian, or in Arabic or Sanskrit bilingual, or in Persian or Sanskrit bilingual. No one is, I don't find the trilingual inscriptions. Epigraphs are valuable and authentic documents communicated by state officials to provincial administrators, who in turn place them on monuments for public information. So it is very important, again, a shift from the official state documents to a record for public consumptions. It is a very drastic conversion, the shift. As a source, the epigraphs not only corroborate information furnished by the literary texts, but often supplement it in a variety of ways on very significant counts. So, generally it corroborates, at least in the field of administration, the terminology we find in contemporary chronicles, we find the same terminology we find in inscriptions, but sometimes very important information was added by the inscriptions, which was left by the chronicles because it was the local. The inscriptions mainly deals with the provincial administration or provincial history of the time, so that is why it was lagged in the main chronicles. Initially, the epigraphs mention construction of religious edifices such as mosques and monuments, mausoleums, military structures such as forts, city walls, gateways and bastions, secular buildings such as palaces, mansions and pleasure pavilions, and public works such as tanks and cisterns, step wells and wells, dams and embankments, karmasarai and garden, etc. Besides, the epigraphs shed valuable light on various aspects of history. The epigraphs frequently mention the title of the Sultan and governors, and often it rectifies the error of the literary texts. The earliest known inscription of Alauddin Khalji was found at court in Fatehpur districts in UP, dated 1296, meaning by it was the same year in which Sultan Alauddin ascended the throne at court at Allahabad. It records the erection of a mosque within a month of his accession. Particular importance is attached to this epigraph as it furnishes the titles with which Alauddin had ascended the throne. That is, the magnificent Sultan, Alauddin. The Dunyawaddin is a title for denoting the worlds and religion both. So they were the Sultan was the protectors of world as well as the religion both. The second Alexander, it is very important. The second Alexander, the right arm of the caliphate, etc., etc. The epigraph leaves no doubt that Alauddin Khalji adopted the title Sikandar-e-Sani, the second Alexander, on his accession and not after 1299. It is generally believed that Alauddin Khalji adopted this title Sikandar-e-Sani in 1299, while we find this title in the very year of his accession in 1296. It thus rectifies an error of Burni, because Burni, the very renowned chroniclers recorded in his Tarikh-e-Firozshah that year, which misled modern writer K.S. Lal, again the pioneer of the Khalji history, the modern writer. The epigraph, so here the inscriptions rectify the error done by the contemporary chroniclers as well as the modern writer. The epigraphs supply missing links in the chronology or succession lists of rulers and governors. For example, the entire chronology and succession order of the Bengal Sultans has been reconstructed only on evidence furnished by epigraphs. Likewise, the names of 3 successive 14th century Tughlaqid governors of Bihar are known through epigraphs only. We don't find these references in any of the contemporary sources, at least these 3 governors, name of these 3 governors. In the epigraphs of Gujarat Sultans and their collaterals, the Khanzada chiefs of Nagaur in Rajasthan, the full genealogy of the reigning king is given in the Nagaur inscription. For historical geography, we find so many informations, because we find the places where the inscriptions was inserted and the monuments were in the places having the geographical importance. But we choose one. For historical geography, information culled from inscriptions are of great value. The earliest reference in Persian chronicles to Bangar Mao, district Unnao, dates back to Ibrahim Lodi's reign. But the presence of an Arabic cenotaph dated 1302 records the passing away of a certain Al-Mujtahid, Al-Alim, Al-Fazil, Jalalul Haq Waddin Ali ibn A.M. It thus indirectly suggests that this place was already an important center during Alauddin's reign, where a person of repute resided. So these inscriptions giving us the 2 information, very important information. One is the inhabitation of Muslims in the Bangar Mao region. And second, it was the literary side. If the man who passes away, who said to the cenotaph was there, which I mentioned here, it was the learned man, it was the mujtahid of the time, he was alim, he was fazil, meaning by it shades the historical geography as well as the literary aspects of the region or of the period of the early 14th century. The epigraph also marked the boundary of the kingdom. It is very known. Fanabi has said about the inscriptions of Ashoka that it makes boundary. And on the basis of the site of the inscriptions, Ashokan inscriptions. So it was very important. Towards the east, the Khalji Empire did not extend beyond the present-day United Provinces. A Persian inscriptions of Mubarak Shah Khalji's reign found at Beaulieu, at Mirzapur, might help demarcate the easternmost boundary of the Khalji dynasty. The epigraph further indicates the the domination of the Bengal ruler Kakaus over territory of Bihar. So we find two inscriptions collaborating each other. One inscription mentions that the easternmost boundary was at Mirzapur, and the second inscription mentions that it was the Kakaus who ruled the Bihar, meaning by the Lodhis were not, the Khaljis were not penetrated into the Bihar region. The epigraph also attested Alauddin's presence in the south. An inscription at Karad in the Satara district, Maharashtra, dated 1314 is a valuable evidence suggesting that Karad was associated with the Muslims' presence in the Deccan at a much earlier date than is generally believed. To the further south, Malik Kafur captured the Kakatiya ruler Pratap Rudra of Warangal. A Sanskrit epigraph of Palnad district Guntur dated 1314 mentions a local chief who had fought against the Mohammedans being honored by the title rescuer of Kakatiya family. We do know these southern expeditions in the chronicles, but here we find a Kakatiya chief who was fighting with Alauddin Khilji. Likewise, like sultans, governors' expedition also found epigraphical support. We all know the Mongol problem. Here one inscriptions indicate that problem. So Ghazi Malik, the governor of Dipalpur and Lahore, in an inscription declares that I have encountered the Tatars, meaning Mongols, on 29 occasions and defeated them, and hence I am called Ghazi Malik. Again, these inscriptions furnish two informations. One, we know that it was checked, the Mongol incursions was checked during the time of Alauddin, so it's supported. And here we find the purpose and the value of the title. Why, how the kings gave the titles to their governors. So here we find the Ghazi as title and Malik as the governor. Epigraphical evidences suggested liberal outlook of the sultans. The tolerant outlook of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, although he has been dubbed as an orthodox, towards his Hindu subject is reflected in Sanskrit inscriptions of Thakur Kul Chand, the governor of Gaya. The purpose of this epigraph is to record the reconstruction of the Sun Temple by Kul Chand. Firoz Tughlaq has been referred in the inscription as Dilipati, Lord of Delhi, the ruler of the western country, Paschatya Suratana, possessing unlimited prowess, Asim Paurush. Although limited, but it suggests a liberal attitude of Firoz Shah. And we again find in other Nagari inscriptions on Qutub Minar that Firoz Shah Tughlaq engaged some Hindu architects and masons and the others for reconstructing the Qutub Minar's portion, which was damaged by lightning. Mughal gardens were opened to the general public. Muhammad Ashraf, brother of Mutamid Khan, laid out a garden at Lucknow in 1630, which was used as a public resort, Sairgah-e-Alam, as the inscriptions engraved on the gate of the garden suggests. Gardens were also given into charity to the mosques, shrine, and religious people, just to get favor of the god. A Bijapur inscription states that Sayyid Shah Mardan endowed or waqfed the garden which he constructed in his private land dedicated to the 12 Imams and to the mosque on the condition that its right of trusteeship, Haqq-e-Tawliyat, would remain in hands of his mother and after her to his descendants. Meaning by the epigraph indicates the assignment of trusteeship to the family members, the donors. Interestingly, in the last, the inscription contains a curse that whoever contravenes this injunction will be subjected to the condemnation, lanat, by God, by the Prophet, angels and men. It reflects the culture of the society. Again we find in Sanskrit inscription the same curse कि अगर कोई इस टेम्पल को तोड़ेगा, अगर मुसलमान तोड़ेगा तो वो पोर्क का गोश्त खाएगा, और अगर हिंदू तोड़ेगा तो वो गाय को किल करेगा. So it is the cultural aspect, cultural phenomena of the period. The epigraph have also preserved the names of several medieval epigraphists whose names are not mentioned in the literary sources. Besides the name of renowned Mughal composer and tracer of Akbar's time, Muhammad Masoom Nami of Dhaka, the names of Darwish Muhammad alias al-Ramzi, Muhammad Baqir, Abdul Fateh, Ismail Hussain Khan, Arifi and Abdul Halim are frequently mentioned as composer and writer of Akbar's time, which we don't find even in Abul Fazl's Tarikh-e-Ayn. Conclusively, apart from political history, the epigraphs as a source furnished valuable data for administrative as well as social, cultural, economic, art and architecture of the medieval period. But objective and critical approach is also essential because inscriptions may suffer from the same defects as chronicles. So we find the scribe's errors in chronicles. We also find the engraver's error or composer error in these inscriptions. Here we find these inscriptions was inscribed or engraved or put on the minaret by Balban, but the title is Qutlug Khan, while the title of Balban was Ullugh Khan. So here we find the Qutlug Khan, here is the error. Okay, so and many inscriptions displayed such a hyperbolic language, like early chronicles Tajul Ma'asir of Hasan Nizami, the facts and fiction badly mixed. Thank you. अगर मैं इसको बताऊं कि कैसे मैं My purpose is to interact with the students that how these inscriptions used as a source to reconstruct the history. Starting with, it is the Haza Imarat, this building. So here we don't have the name of the Imarat, name of the building. So meaning by it is open. But since it was known that it was inserted on the minaret, and that is why it is known that it was the building was the minaret. Okay? Otherwise, when we find it in a loose condition, we find the Binay Masjid, Binay Dam, Binay Fort, the other things. So it was the mention. Here it is not clear, but it is Imarat. And since we are sure that it was putting on the minaret, and that is why this Imarat, Hazal Imarat, this building was the minaret. Number one. And number two, we find the titles of the Sultans. The Sultanul Azam, Nasiruddin Dunya, Sultanul Azam, and then Dunyawaddin, as I have told earlier, that it was the world and religion. And Nasir was the sovereign name, it was not the proper name, not the actual name. It was the name he adopted when he became the ruler. And the Sultanul Salatin, it is very important for me, because this inscription is in Arabic. And this Sultanul Salatin meaning the Sultan of the Sultans. The Persian equivalent of Shahanshah. In Persian it is Shahanshah. So for me it is very important. And then we find the Kunya, Abul Muzaffar, and the actual name, the Mahmud bin Sultan, the actual name of the Nasiruddin Mahmud. And here again we find the title of the governor. So it was Qutlug Khan. It was Era, it was Ullugh Khan. So it was the Khan, the highest rank. And it was when he elevated to the highest post, then it became the Khan. Earlier he was the Malik. And here we find the Bahauddin, Bahaul Haq wa Din. If we don't have this Bahaul Haq wa Din, I might be confused कि ये कुतुब खान जो है वो दूसरा है, बलबन जो है ये दूसरा है, ये वो बलबन नहीं है. But since I know that Bahauddin was the name of Balban, and that is why I am sure that it was the heir of Kutlu Khan instead of Ullu Khan. And again, we find that Malik Maluku Shah was seen. It was generally believed that the governor of the eastern part was having this title Malik Maluku Shah, meaning by the Malik of the region of eastern region and thing. But in course of my research, I found that it was not the title, it was the institution, it was the office which denotes the ranks of the nobles. So it was. And then Balban al-Shamshi, Balban was his name, proper name, al-Shamshi denoting he was the slave of Sultan Shamsuddin Iltutmish. So here we find though, and then here in Arabic and Persian, dating is in words, not in numerals. While in Sanskrit, the dating is in numerals, not in words. Here we find the difference. So how we utilize these inscriptions for the purpose of the different aspects of the history and to reconstruct the different aspects of the medieval history. Thank you.